Morning. When I was a kid, my mom, she was a lifeguard at the pool. The Carlsons started a pool and did a thing about all bodies, all being welcome, Indigenous bodies being welcome, because everybody needed to know how to swim because there's a river. And it's really important that everybody knows how to swim, so they built a swimming pool to teach swimming lessons. And Keith's father was one of the people that sat on the council at the village and demanded that Aboriginals that First Nations people be allowed to take swimming lessons and learn how to swim as well, and started a program there. And my mom was one of the first lifeguards to train, and she was on the swim team. And her and Keith would go and would swim and compete. And he was saying my mom was just like fucking dynamo, but always something would happen. And Shelley and Sharon or whatnot they were the fastest. They were always the fastest. And it was really cute hearing the stories about my mom, in her young years and her spitfire wildness. And he's like, oh yeah, this one year, the mayor, mom had it out with the mayor. It was a woman at that time named Frances, who was my grandma's good friend, lived across the street, and Fran Peck. And so I guess one year Frances was the mayor and did something funny and was trying to get my mom fired for being a lifeguard, and everybody was there at the town's meeting, and my mom was there, and Fran Peck said something, and then my mom said something back, and she got so mad that she pushed my mom in front of everyone, and it was in the newspaper, and my mom didn't lose her job as lifeguard because it was none of her business, and so on and so forth, and stood her ground, and went on to do lots of swimming with Keith, and then she disappeared in her teen years for a period of time, and Keith didn't see her. Keith went on to come to Australia, and he met this tiny little Scorpio woman named Susie, and they hit it off, and then he came back, and they were sitting in KMI trying to figure out, who was around still, what was going on, introduce people to his new wife, that kind of thing. Cute little Australian gnome, and English something mix, and he looked over and he seen my mom sitting there, and he's like, oh shit, Shelley. And he's like, you'd get along with Shelley. And so I guess from that moment on, Susie and my mom were fucking inseparable. They were just ridiculous together. Both, 5 foot nothing. My mom's 5 foot quarter inch, and Susie is less than that. When I was a kid, they came and they hung out in our backyard in their camper with their kids. And they were little bush babies from up in Bloomfield, which is in northern Queensland. And they were just little, caramel crazies that always wanted to be naked because that's what you do. And the valley's fucking hot. Like, the valley's really hot in the summer. And so they liked that, and it reminded them of being here. And just, I have so many memories of, just, this, Susie screaming at Cody to, put his clothes on. And, it's winter, and we're in Canada, and, you need to, and just this little boy running around with this tiny wooden sword, long blonde hair, and it was beautiful. And ever since I was a kid, I've dreamed of crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles, and it's probably from sharing the dream space with them when they came, and that awareness that is in Bloomfield that there's crocs, and don't swim in the water. You just, certain spots you just don't, and things like that. And so it's just really beautiful. And then I was quite small for a long time, so I'm only 5'2" now, but for a long time I only came up to my mom's hip. It was my head was the height of her hip, and it was a pretty tiny little thing. Could hide anywhere. Amazing at hide and seek. You won't be finding me. And so I remember Susie being so big and so fucking amazing, and their accents. I loved the accents. I just loved it was just, yeah, it was so good. It was so good. It was such a lovely couple of months. And then they moved into Coston for a few years and lived on the main road. And so we go see them and their horses. And they live beside the swamp. And there's beavers that come and slap their tails in the water and things like this. and and then they moved, and I didn't really think much of it. And I guess they came back when Kira graduated, and they see me then. But I don't really remember seeing them those days. And there's a couple of photos and stuff, but like I don't quite recall um, that period. And so I had black hair, and I was pretty. Well, one of the eldest daughters said I was really angry. I was very angry at that time, and so I was just really tripped out, feeling super supported by another healer, and a beautiful connection that I have with the sound healer here, and just the exchange while she was in Canada, and then when she moved back to Australia, just the exchange over the years and conversations and community communes, possibilities, healing, exchanges, experiences, deepening what it is to do remote from across the world, how to open gateways and things like this to be able to do that, and just a beautiful, beautiful experiences, and so much love, so much capacity for me to be hosted here and safe here and present here and across the world. And I was getting ready to come here, and I realized that I have family here, that I have, Susie and Keith, and I hadn't thought of them 20 some years or whatnot, and then I went to visit my mom and my gram really quick because I had a feeling that I might not come back for quite some time when I do go, and but I haven't been allowed to see more than a couple of steps ahead at this stage for a while now, and just this exercise in faith has been going on, and and then I went really just quickly into the valley, went to see my gram and my mom for 6 days, and just revisit my roots and my beginnings, my swamp life, my tadpole, and it was just really, it was surreal, it was heavy, it was beautiful, it was intense, it was hard, it was really hard. And then I got back to Victoria, and I just started to pack because I had 6 days till I was leaving, and so while I was there, I asked my mom about it. I was like, "What about Susie and Keith?" I always said, if any of us ever come to Australia, we've always got a place to stay, and they fucking lived here. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, Kira and her boyfriend, something, something, something." I didn't really catch, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And I was like, "Call them, And my mom was insistent that we call them, make sure that was okay, because it had been a while. And I called them up in the middle. I had to wait till 1:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning to be able to catch a good time to catch them, because they're in their 70s now, and day before time change, all this stuff. And I get on the phone, and Mom's just like, like, Neilber, is this all right? Like, she's coming, and yes or no. And Susie was like, "Well, of course," and like, "Well," and Mom's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll go here talking to you." She's like, "Yeah, Dr. Susie," and so I got on the phone, and I was like, "Hey, Susie, da 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 da, think I'm coming. Where do you guys live? In your Australia's big. Do you still live in the jungle?" I was assuming it was jungle, and the Ironwood house that they spoke of when I was a kid, and the place I have yet to see, because they live in Woodford these days, and yeah, it was super cute. She was just like, "Well, you're family, aren't you?" And I was like, "I thought so." Like, I was pretty sure that was like what was on the table, from when I was a kid. And so sure enough, I came. I woke up in July 5 a.m. a couple months after Chris had passed. And I looked at flights for Australia because I'd just been talking to Sarah quite a bit in that period of time, and I looked at flights, and there was one that was like less than $1,000 return to Australia, and I was like, like I just went back to bed and didn't really think much of it. And then a couple nights later, I was up around 2 a.m. kind of thing, and I was like, oh yeah, that flight, like how much are flights to Australia, like return? And I started looking, and it's like 1,300, 2,300, 2,700, 2,800, and I was like, I was like, less than 1,000, right? I think that's my flight. So it's 2 seats left, or something ridiculous like that. 4 seats, 6 seats, 4 seats, 2 seats, 3 seats, And I was like, ugh. So booked it, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you don't. So my credit card should have been maxed out, was maxed out, and it was like just about to where like um it was done. So I assumed that if I booked it with my credit card, that it would cancel if it was like not gonna, if I didn't have the funds, if I was going over the amounts, like by a couple $100, then they'd tell me or something, or that it would be fine. They'd cancel, it wouldn't work, it wouldn't go through, wouldn't be accepted. Um, and then it did. It went through. So I was like, oh. And then so I booked cancellation insurance, which I never do. I don't care about that usually. But had this inkling, so I spent an extra $100, and it was like $956.36 for the flights, and then with the Manulife, it was just over. It was like 1,010.36 or something like that, and I was like, okay, and then I was just like, what the, like you don't have the money for this. You don't have, like, okay, yeah, you've got a place to stay for a couple months, maybe build a house, maybe it's going to be a polyamorous love commune, and you're going to have your child, and, like, remember that night after Chris died, and you had, like, you went to that drag wedding show that was, like, like, and I was like, yeah, and then I was like, cancel, and I went to cancel my flight, and then my computer updated, and just, like, boom, it just shut down, and I was like, I guess we're going to Australia.